is complex.
So let's talk about Lovely Complex. Right, let's talk about Lovely Complex. This is an anime introduced to me by my now fiance, and it's probably one of my favourite romantic animes ever. It's Love Com. Do you get it? Love, comedy, love com, lovely complex. Ooh, it's fantastic. Anyway, let's have a look. Lovely Complex is a romantic anime following our two main characters in their last few years of high school. But we'll get more into that later. First, let's take a closer look at our characters. Risa Koizumi is arguably our main character. Although the anime is about both her and Atsushi, we mostly see the show from her perspective. She's tall for a Japanese girl. The anime depicts her as being freakish in size. This and her clumsiness have led her to have low self-esteem regarding her desirability. Not helping this is the fact that her name means small fountain, and that other members of her class refer to her as a giraffe. At the start of the series, she fancies one guy who is taller than her, but over time and failed attempts to get together with him, begins to develop feelings for her complement in the anime, Atsushi. Contrasting the lanky and awkward Risa, Atsushi Otani is both short and seemingly sure of himself. He may be very sensitive about his height, a fact made all the worse by his name meaning Big Valley, but doesn't seem to be as much of a comic foil as Risa. At first, these two characters butt heads, appearing like a pair of comedians, a fact often remarked upon by their peers. But over time they bond. Although Atsushi doesn't share Risa's feelings at first, later having some reservations about entering a relationship at all, they do eventually manage to hook up. The relationship between Risa and Atsushi and the way that they work as characters are part of the main draw from my perspective. The way that they act around one another is believable. No love at first sight, no insane premise to shoehorn them together, just two people who enter a relationship after spending a lot of time together and growing to like one another. These characters have an edge of reality to them that's so often missing from melodrama or shoujo anime. The relationship also has false starts. Risa confesses her feelings to Atsushi on multiple occasions, only to be repeatedly shot down. It takes time for a romantic relationship to even start, and once it does, it isn't always plain sailing for them. The slice of life aspect has us following their development as people. They move through adolescence into adulthood, how they deal with the common complex held by many of us, having low self-esteem based on your appearance, thinking you should feel one way when you end up feeling another, speaks to an experience shared by a lot of people who are awkward in adolescence, myself included. Alongside this, the roadblocks that their relationship hits are realistic ones. Trying to grow and develop, to be with the people you love without compromising on your dreams, feelings of jealousy when you haven't been spending as much time with your partner. These are problems and conundrums that actually happen in real life, with no chasers on the back or a horse-drawn carriage to attempt to bring pizzazz to the occasion. Of course, this series isn't devoid of over-the-top moments and characters, but they aren't the core of the series. The usual comedic aspects of the Japanese rom-com support the main romantic plot as opposed to distracting from it. And this, above all else, is a sign of quality for this series. The two leads often carry the show by themselves. The romance manages to drive the series more than the farcical scenarios and characters, while still managing to keep a light-hearted tone, an area where many similar shows seem to fail. A downside for this anime are the background characters, and I very much mean background characters. The supporting cast are often a collection of one-note characters that exist for a purpose, to create situations for our main cast, whereas our two main characters are incredibly well developed. The remaining cast are often ignored by the series. Characters enter three categories. There are the people that Risa and Atsushi fancy at the beginning, Risa's support network, which is Nobu and her boyfriend, and then the remaining characters are entirely roadblocks for the relationship. They're people who will either cause jealousy or might cause doubts in people's minds. but that's all they are. They're situations that don't really come across as real characters. The art direction for this anime is unusual and fantastic, especially for a shoujo anime. Movements are fluid and outlines are brown as opposed to black, making everything a lot earthier, making everything seem a lot more natural. This is something which, honestly, I'm surprised hasn't been used more often, but it makes it look fantastic, and I'm very, very, very pleased with the artwork in this series. The voice acting and audio direction also take an unusual turn. Whereas normally we are treated to a selection of Tokyo dialects, this time the entire series is in Kansai, which lends it to feel a bit more real. It makes it feel a bit more like these are not just characters in an anime, that they are actual people. Admittedly, a lot of the time this might not come through to the Western listener, but it does still make the series sound different. It sounds unusual, and I think that really is a point in its favour.
There you have it, lovely Complex. Very much worth your time if you like romance, comedy, sort of anime. If you're into shoujo in general, worth your time. Just generally worth your time. Obviously, if you're into your big head fights, none of that there. But then again, what were you expecting from a show called Lovely Complex? But very good. Good plot, good art, good voice acting. Just watch it. Do it. It should be at number 3 on your watch list.